She started like this: sweet messages, constant compliments, uninterrupted attention. He said she was unique, special, that he had never met anyone like her. He made promises, offered future plans, presented himself as the perfect man. But gradually she began to notice something strange. Every time she disagreed, he made her feel guilty. Every criticism was a threat. Every conversation turned into a courtroom. She wondered if she was going crazy, if the problem was her and not him. Always with that controlled smile, that subtle superiority, that rehearsed speech of someone who never makes mistakes. If this sounds familiar, it's no coincidence. It's a pattern with a name. Maybe you know someone like this. A friend who always needs to be the center of attention. A relative who never admits to being wrong. A coworker who seems too charismatic to be true. Maybe you have lived with one of them. Or worse, maybe you are still trapped under the spell of a narcissist without knowing it. The narcissist doesn't come with a warning. He doesn't shout. He seduces. He wears masks. He enchants, manipulates, and when he realizes he has you in his grasp, he reveals his true face: cold, calculating, and deeply destructive. And the most dangerous part, he can make you believe that you are the problem, that everything that is wrong is your fault. He turns the game around before you even understand that you're playing. To understand why these people are so dangerous, we need to go back to the origin, to the story that named all of this. The term narcissism comes from Greek mythology. Narcissus was a young man so beautiful that he fell in love with his own image reflected in the water. Unable to detach from his obsession, he withered away until he died. Freud was the first to turn this myth into a diagnosis, but it was Arthur Schopenhauer who went deeper, warning us about the blind, irrational will that governs human nature. An insatiable force that refuses to look inward and instead projects its dissatisfaction onto the world. Narcissism is not just exaggerated vanity or egocentrism. It is a dysfunctional psychic structure that distorts reality to protect a fragile and inflated ego. It is an insatiable hunger for control, admiration, and power. It is an emotional trap disguised as affection. And narcissists are masters at appearing normal. While you don't understand what you face, they erode your self-esteem, autonomy, and sanity. This is why this is not just theory, but a warning. It's a direct conversation with you who might be doubting yourself, always walking on eggshells, feeling you give your all, but it's never enough. Today, you'll see what was once invisible. You'll learn to recognize, resist, and, most importantly, free yourself from this destructive cycle through the eyes of Arthur Schopenhauer. The narcissist's charm is the first key behavior to watch. No one suspects a predator who smiles, charming, attentive, magnetic. He studies you with precision, discovers what you value, what wounds are still open, and then molds himself to fill that void. He transforms into what you want, compliments you strategically, listens as if every word is sacred. But none of this is real. It's a mirror reflecting what you want to see. This charm is bait. The narcissist wants to use your apparent self, not the real you, to satisfy the emptiness he refuses to face. He needs your admiration like an addict needs the next fix. When it runs low and you seek real presence, the mask slips and his smile becomes a weapon. But the true terror begins after seduction, the cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard. At first, you're on a pedestal, the perfect soulmate, the most special person ever. Every moment is magical. But this vision was never about you. It was a fantasy projected by him. When your imperfections appear, you move to devaluation. Criticism is subtle, but constant. You feel insecure, always failing without knowing why. He praises less, blames more. Nothing you do can return things to how they were because the problem is you stopped fitting the ideal. Then comes the discard. He pulls away, becomes cold, may disappear, or provoke you to end it. Meanwhile, you're left with guilt and emptiness. You ask, what did I do wrong? The answer, nothing. Arthur Schopenhauer taught that our greatest suffering comes from the will we refuse to face. The narcissist refuses his inner emptiness and projects it onto you, making you carry the blame. This cycle repeats, each return deepening your emotional dependency and confusion. It is an invisible prison. Narcissists don't yell to dominate. They distort reality, sow doubt, rewrite facts. They study your vulnerabilities, poke where it hurts, and make you question.
One tactic is gaslighting, denying conversations, twisting facts, minimizing emotions. Over time, you start believing it, doubting yourself, molding to avoid conflict, and becoming trapped. Another is triangulation, involving others to destabilize you, comparisons that weaken you emotionally. Guilt is also wielded, making you feel ungrateful, reminding you of their help as leverage. You start walking on eggshells, disappearing from yourself to fit their world. The narcissist gains power as long as you are emotionally unstable. The good news? Awareness is freedom. Seeing the pattern helps you start breaking free. But the cost of staying trapped is high. Deep psychic wounds, mental exhaustion, loss of identity. Slowly, your soul disappears. Many victims develop anxiety, depression, complex trauma. Self-esteem shatters. You ask permission to exist and feel. Physical symptoms appear too. Insomnia, fatigue, appetite loss. Your body screams what your mind cannot say. When you explain to others, reactions often dismiss your pain. He seems so nice. She's friendly. It can't be that bad. Narcissists build perfect public images, polite and charming. You doubt yourself again, wondering if you're too sensitive, exactly as they taught you. But here's a brutal truth. This is not love. Love does not hurt your identity or make you live in fear. What you experience is a traumatic bond, built with fear, guilt, and manipulation, not affection. And you're not weak for falling into it. Narcissists seek empathetic, generous souls because they feed off your light. If you were hurt, it was because you have value. Now that you see the wounds, the next step is protection. Narcissists only have power while you remain unaware of their tactics. When you see clearly, they lose control. In the final part, you will learn how to identify these people before they enter your life, and how to free yourself emotionally. Understanding the narcissist is the first step, but breaking away is what truly gives you freedom. Arthur Schopenhauer reminds us, no one becomes enlightened imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Recognize the will that drives this behavior. Detach from its hunger. Protect your soul. You deserve peace, not pain. In the next part, we will reveal the first key behavior of the narcissist, their seductive charm, and why it is so dangerous. Are you ready to see how the poison begins with a smile? If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. No one suspects a predator that smiles. This is how the narcissist enters your life. Charming, attentive, magnetic. He studies you with surgical precision. He discovers what you value, what you miss, which emotional wounds are still open. And then he molds himself exactly to fill that void. He transforms into what you have always wanted. He seems to understand you better than anyone else. He compliments you strategically, listens to you as if every word was sacred. But none of this is real. It's a mirror carefully positioned to reflect exactly what you want to see. This is the trap. The narcissist is a master of first impressions. He knows that appearance matters more than essence at the beginning, and it is at this stage, the stage of seduction, that he wins you over. He makes himself indispensable. He creates a quick, intense, almost hypnotic emotional bond. In psychology, this is called love bombing, an overload of affection, attention, and validation that disarms the victim's natural defenses. You let your guard down, you trust, you surrender. But what seems like affection is disguised control. What seems like connection is in fact manipulation. Arthur Schopenhauer warned that everything that is excessively idealized carries within it the seed of destruction. The narcissist idealizes himself, and by extension, idealizes you, but not because he loves you, but because he needs you to be a perfect reflection of the fantasy he has created. The moment you show flaws, doubts, human emotions, he feels betrayed, as if the mask you were supposed to wear to feed him is cracking. And that's when the game starts to change. The charm of the narcissist deep down is bait. He doesn't want to know who you really are. He wants to use who you seem to be to satisfy the void he himself refuses to face. He needs your admiration like an addict needs the next fix. But when it starts to run low, when you begin to demand reciprocity, real presence, depth, he gets irritated. The mask starts to slip. And the same smile that attracted you now becomes a weapon. But this is just the beginning. Because the true terror is not in the seduction phase, it's in what comes next. In the next part, we will delve into the heart of the nightmare. The cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard. The destructive pattern that all narcissists follow and that leaves their victims emotionally devastated. After the enchantment comes the chaos. If the narcissist has captivated you with attention, sweet words, and intense presence, it was only to prepare the ground for what really matters to him, control. And this control is not established in an obvious way. It happens through a repetitive, predictable, and devastating cycle. The cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard. In the first phase, you are placed on a pedestal. He exalts you, treats you as if you were perfect. You are the soulmate, the most special person he has ever met. Every message from you is received with enthusiasm. Every moment together feels magical. You feel like you have finally found someone who truly sees you. But what you don't realize is that this vision was never about you. It was about him. He is not seeing you. He is projecting a fantasy. And when you start to show signs of humanity, when your imperfections appear, and they always do, something changes. Without you noticing, you move from the idealization phase to devaluation. Here, the narcissist begins to subtly criticize you. Nothing direct, small corrections, passive-aggressive comments, comparisons disguised as advice. You start to feel confused, insecure, as if you are constantly failing, even without understanding exactly why. He praises you less, blames you more. You try to compensate, try to return to what it was at the beginning, but nothing works. Because for him, the problem was never you. It was the fact that you stopped being the perfect projection he idealized. And then comes the most brutal phase, the discard. The narcissist pulls away, becomes cold, indifferent. It can end abruptly, disappear without explanations, or worse, provoke you until you end it yourself. So he can take on the role of the victim. In many cases, he already has someone else in mind, someone new to idealize, someone who hasn't seen the mask fall yet. Meanwhile, you are left with the emptiness, with the guilt, with the corrosive doubt. What did I do wrong? Nothing. You did nothing wrong. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that our greatest suffering comes from the will we refuse to face. The narcissist, by refusing to confront his own fragilities and insecurities, unloads all of this onto the victim,